Because to be white in 1963, and I would argue still today, is to have the luxury, the privilege, if you will, of not having to know black and brown truth. You can be oblivious to the reality of people of color and suffer no consequence.
Very, very segregated country. Millions of white Americans live in places where they rarely see anyone of a different race.
You're listening to Your Neighbor's Hood, a podcast for uncomfortable culture conversations, specifically about race. Do your thing, Christina and Jackie.
All right, so we're
going to do our thing.
Zahara told us to do our thing.
We got to do our thing.
So as you guys just heard, we have a new intro because I kind of get tired of saying exactly what it is every time, just to be honest. No,
yeah, and we're growing up.
We're growing up, so we wanted to give us some structure to the podcast. So that lovely voice you heard was Zahara. I love her so much as Jackie's daughter. And she's just empowering us. And can you just share the story? I think that's cute.
Of what?
Of how you got her to...
So I asked her, I said, Zahara, hey... do you want to help me out and record something for me? And she's like, of course, Mom. But see, I know that Zahara is a perfectionist.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just going to, let her do her thing. So I'm telling her what I want her to say. I just said, hey, this is Your Neighbor's Hood, uncomfortable cultures conversation. And when I start talking, she's like, stop. Hold on, Mom. Hold on. And she's walking around the house. She's walking around. She comes back with a note card that already has something written on it, but a note card and a brown marker. And she's like, what do you want me to say? And I'm like, this is Your Neighbor's Hood. You're listening to Your Neighbor's Hood, uncomfortable culture conversations. And I forgot to put specifically about race or whatever. And I was like, and then after that, you could say whatever you want, but you're like tossing it over to me and Christina. So say whatever you want. Just like, here you go, Christina and Jackie or whatever. Say whatever. So we're doing it. And she has a breakdown because it is not perfect.
Right.
And we had to talk back up our courage to get it done. And she finally I was like, you have to add specifically about race because I forgot. And she's like, oh, I'll be right back. She went and got another note card.
She had to write it down.
Has to write it down.
It's her process.
It's her prerogative, okay? She does what she wants to do. But, so she finally knocked it out, and it was nice. And I think once it was after all the tears, because I didn't want to force her to do it. I just said, if you want to help out, it's fine. If it's too stressful. Yeah. But she's really proud.
Right.
She's really proud. And she's like, is that me? I'm like, child, it's you. Stop playing.
It's really good. You sent it to me, and I was like, this is so good. She's too cute.
She's too much.
But I didn't know the backstory of what it took to get there.
But it's okay.
It's okay.
It was about a 20-minute evolution, if that.
Well, now that's our new intro, guys.
Hey, so what's good in the hood, Christina?
Oh, man. So we're back from Florence, which is just...
Florence is like a week ago.
It was a week ago, but my husband was gone for over a week. And then, when someone comes gone, they come back in your life. I actually got into my single routines. Have you ever done that when
hell
was
yes.
gone? You know what
I'm telling every other week, my husband switched nights, days. I'm like, single routine.
Yeah. I'm binge watching Scandal right now. Again, I've seen most of them, but he hates that show, which I completely understand. It's like a girl, Scandal.
Very dramatic.
It's very dramatic.
Scandal.
I love Scandal. And so I'm watching that, and then he's home, and so now I'm like, oh, well, now I can't binge watch Scandal anymore. You know what I mean?
You can't watch
your shows, my junk shows,
It's the American Girls telenovela.
Yeah, it really is.
It's your soaps.
Yeah, it's my soaps. And, and because, he's like, what? And he, wants to spend time with me, which is cool. But then it's I kind of just want to, and then I want to, mindlessly scroll Instagram, every millennial my age. And he's like, but he's very good at, okay, let's put our phones away. Let's talk, which is great. But then I roll my eyes because I'm I just really want to watch my show. So I had a week of doing that myself, and now he's home, and I'm very happy he's home, but I'm adjusting.
But you can't.
Yeah, but now I can't. You
can't do what you want to do.
No, I can't. I can't eat hummus and chips for every meal either.
Oh,
when he's gone. I don't. I'm like, it's because I don't want to cook.
I'm going to need you to come to my house for dinner.
I know. Well, that's right.
I'm just going to need you to show up.
Okay, I will, because I won't cook for myself. Because when you're by yourself also, though, like, you don't want to cook. Like, I don't want to make all the mess, you know? So I just live off of hummus and chips. It's the Olivia Pope diet. I don't drink, but she would eat popcorn and wine. And I'm like, that's me. All
right. This is an intervention. We're going to save you.
Yeah, right. Next time Clayton comes out, I'll come over.
I'll mandate it.
Right.
I'll try to.
So what's good in your hood?
I was like trying to think of what's good in my hood, because like you said struggle bus earlier. I'm like, yes, I'm on the struggle bus. But I'm honking the horn. I'm telling everybody, beep, beep, beep. I'm struggling. Help me. I'm like trying.
I love you so much.
I'm on the bus, trying not to hit people too, because they're my struggle too. I mean, there's some people in my life that I'm like, stand in front of this bus while I drive. Look. So, what's good is, this week has been, this past week, I think I'm going through another self-awakening phase where I'm just kind of evaluating myself and who and what I want to be and what I want to do, and making sure I'm being a good person to my my husband in particular. So yes, I actually asked him this week, hey, what can I do? What am I a good? Do I do well?
That's awesome.
With him, and he goes, okay, Jackie, you're going through one of those moments. Do you know you go through this like every couple months?
Do you really?
He's like, we have these conversations every couple months. I tell you what you do, that, whatever, and you process it, you try to do better, and then we come back to this point.
Yeah.
And he was like, so no, you're not doing everything that I would like you to do, but seriously, like, don't change yourself for me or for anybody. And I was like, what? He's like, be the nag that you...
He said that?
Yes, a-hole. I love him though. He was like, be the what does he call it? The obsessive, I don't know. I can't remember the word. It's a word that he says for me. The neurotic.
Okay.
Be the neurotic nag that you are. Okay. Like, that's who you are.
Yeah.
So like, I'm like really just dealing with myself. That's what's good in the hood. And I'm trying to make sure that I ate a whole pack of Oreos, so I know quicker than I'm supposed to. So I know my mental health game is like,
oh my God. I binge eat mac and cheese when I'm like the Kraft. I will go, or I go to KFC and get a large and eat it myself. When I find myself in the line of KFC or eating mac and cheese or a lot of chips, that's when my mental health is somewhere. Yeah. Isn't that crazy how that happens?
You gotta know your triggers.
Yes.
You gotta know.
And because I used to drink and now I'm not drinking, and that's good, and I'm proud of myself. Won't even socially drink just because, keeping that control. But then,
then you binge on mac and cheese.
Yes. It just went somewhere else.
So that's what I wouldn't call that. I don't know if it's good, but it's good because for me, part of my PPRs or my pre-planned responses is to make sure that I'm actively saying, all right, I'm struggling. Like, I have to acknowledge it and not necessarily laugh about it, but I have to put it out there for the people that are in my circle.
Yes.
So that I can actually be like, oh, I'm dealing with it. So I don't pick all the skin off my thumb.
Oh my God, I do that too. This is going to drag on. Sorry.
But
I do the exact same thing. Do you really?
Yeah, I pick the skin off my thumb.
Me too.
Yeah.
Until it bleeds.
Yes,
I've had to put Band-Aids on my...
Yep. My husband,
Clayton,
grabs my hand.
Me too.
Yep.
That's so interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I'm good now. My thumbs are good now. But I've had it all the way down here. Yeah.
You see
I would do the exact same thing. Or you bite it. Or
yeah, sometimes, Yep. But guys, we went on.
Yeah.
But yes, that's what's good in the hood. I mean, getting gooder, being a gooder person.
A better person.
So... what about this episode, though? Gooder people.
This episode was fun, and it took some turns. We talked about activism and why it matters, and then the history of voting. And I learned a lot about. I learned some things. I learned how much I don't know. I was humbled by my I made some mistakes on some history, but that's all right.
I think this is very human.
Yeah, I think we're relatable because I do not have history memorized. I'll just tell you that.
No, not at all.
And I don't even know if I want to memorize it like that. I think I've learned to look at history more of like abstractly and trying to pull lessons and themes out of things instead of dates and times because that doesn't serve me.
It doesn't, just in time. So this is it was a full circle of us just getting ourselves ready to be good advocates for voter registration as those deadlines are nearing. And then what does that mean for activism? And then as an activist, what does that mean for the type of activist you follow and what
and
kind of citizens it makes you?
Yeah. And then we also give some tips on like share what critical thinking is, and we also encourage you to challenge us and listen and pay attention to who you follow and the thought leaders that you follow.
Absolutely.
You know, what does that look like, and ask some critical questions of us.
Absolutely. So you're kicking it in, and we're talking about all this voting and acting and stuff.
Yep.
Hope you guys enjoy it. Just tell them to enjoy it. Tell them have a good time. Have a good time.
I was going to say, stay curious to make it agree.
We're loopy.
Yeah, I'm loopy. Oh my. Yes, so voting and activism go hand in hand.
They go in hand because
they did back in history and they do now.
Yes. We're so close to a midterm election.
We are so close to a midterm election. And I will just throw it out there. I'm passionate about this too. And it's not shaming anyone or trying to bring anything up, but I don't understand. And I wish we could take a poll or get a better grasp on society of why voter turnout is so low. And it's like for our election, the election for your school board for you, we had like 9% of the population show up to vote.
Yeah.
And we knocked 7,000 doors and you had about 8,000 people in your ward.
Yeah.
So that's 90%. I mean, that's more than half we knocked. So it wasn't because people didn't, I don't know why people don't vote. And so that fascinates me and I'm not angry about it. I would like to know why people think it doesn't matter. And that's something I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Why people aren't more civically involved.
With something as simple as voting.
Exactly. Yes.
As simple as voting.
Yes. And so I don't know if it's a lack of interest or thinking that their vote matters or politics is I don't know.
And I think some of it is how many doors did we knock and people were like, oh, I had no idea.
That's very true. That happened a lot. That happened a lot.
Yo, one guy was like, oh, you're the first person to knock on my door? All right. You got my vote.
Right.
It's like,
just based on showing up.
Just showing up. And so that is a part of it too.
Right.
But then for me, it's also the historical context, because a lot of time as a Black person, you get your elders that say, people fought so hard for you to get your right to vote. No. Like you get talked at about it. I needed to be emotionally connected to that story.
Yes.
To say, I'm going to do this because people fought so hard.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Same reason why people join the military. It's like, oh, I'm going to join because I want to serve my country and all those who have come. Like for me, it has to be a sense of pride. So if you're nagging at me about voting and it's not something that like I see as important, not even see as important, it's just not one of those on my list of to-dos, then you don't get me there with that message. But I think we're coming to a time where like if we could get more people to understand how much local politics and policies influence it. If I can get you to understand that the reason why there's a new fire hydrant being put right there is because this little law was passed. Or guess what? They're coming and they're going to be planting trees maybe in your yard because there's a plan. The city just made a plan for green infrastructure.
Right.
Or you could have access to this in your community because, you know, the city council is looking at this. Do you want that? Does that liquor store look bad in your neighborhood? Did you know you can get a grant from the city to
something? Yes,
you can see your activism.
So this goes back to your campaign too, and something that I learned, and that's how all of this spawned. But people would always say, "Well, what are you going to do for me?" And one of our messages was, "No, what are we going to do together?"
Absolutely.
Because I think we think, yes, elected officials are here to serve, of course, public service, but people to have an active, hopefully participate in creating the society that they want.
Right.
You know, and that goes to systemic racism, that goes to white supremacy, that goes to everything we see around us. We have to take an active part in it.
An active part.
Yeah.
And one of the simplest things that people can do is vote.
Yeah.
And try to be a knowledgeable voter.
Mm-hmm. And pay attention and discuss why and who you're voting for.
Yeah, why and who you're voting for. So because we are a Uncomfortable Culture Conversations podcast.
Right. We are. I didn't know we did that.
Specifically about race.
Yeah.
Part of that is digging into the color of voting.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? And why is it that you see so many white communities very active in voting and so many non-white communities not active in voting?
Right.
Why do you see that?
What is that? And
What
this
is
goes
that?
to, we did a video about this, but learning how to ask questions and ask the right questions. And you don't always even have to find the answers. It's just more of being aware and asking those questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so part of it is that the world, it has not always been a popular view to support non-white people, non-white, non-male people voting.
Right. Which is crazy to think about, because and that's where I think the disconnect comes in 2018. Honestly, I think people think we're farther ahead than we are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think people think, no, not in 2018.
Well, yeah, in 2018.
Women aren't oppressed. Oh, black, you know, because I hear that all the time, you know. And so I think what we have to realize is, like, yes, a lot of work has been done, but a lot more needs to be done as well.
It still needs to be done. So let's take it back. So the first time that we saw voting for people that were not white males even brought up was from President Lincoln.
That's so interesting. I guess I never thought about that.
Yeah. And that was late 1800s.
What a cool dude.
Yeah, but know that, and we were just talking about this, that his supporters were like, what are you doing?
Right.
People aren't going to pay any attention to what you're trying to do outside the fact that you're trying to help these Negroes. Why are you bringing this up?
Yeah.
So but it wasn't until the late 1800s, and we're in the early 2000s right now. But it's like it wasn't until the late 1800s that we even started having discussions about non-white males voting.
Wow.
Or actually, yeah, non-white males, because we women, we weren't even in the picture at that time. Like we weren't in the picture until what, 19? We're talking 19.
Yeah, it's late 1920s
or something like that.
Yeah.
Until then. So that's when the 15th Amendment, the 15th Amendment guarantees.
And what was that for people that don't know?
Right. So the 15th Amendment guarantees that you should not be discriminated against to vote because of your race, because of your color, or because of any other status that you've had.
And let's preface this. This is when we pull apart why, to me, what I still can't wrap my head around is that was 1965. 1965.
Well, that
right?
not the 15th Amendment.
When was that one?
Well, the 15th Amendment. Let's look and see when the 15th Amendment.
Wasn't it the 60s?
Congress passed. Yep. Okay, no. Congress passed February 1869.
Okay.
So,
wow.
So in 1869, so that's what it was. So 2 years before 1869 was the first time that we heard a public official, the president, Lincoln, saying, hey, free slaves. But here was the kicker on that too, though. When Lincoln said that freed slaves should have the right to vote, he said as long as they were intelligent and or were previously soldiers.
Stipulation.
That people, intelligent, free men that were intelligent or prior soldiers should have the right to vote.
And that's it.
Well, that's a step forward. I mean, that was really, think about it. In
1869.
Yes, 1869, the 15th Amendment was ratified, but 2 years prior to that is when Lincoln was like, hey, I think that smart black men and also men that fought for this country should be able to vote. And that was controversial.
Right.
But then think about this. What is intelligent, Christina?
Right. Is it a test? Is it common sense? Is it is it believing a certain ideology? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
So then you're saying a test, and that is true. Yeah, a test. So to keep that divide, there were poll taxes, right? You got to pay $2 or $3 to vote. And then there were...
But for certain people.
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
There was intimidation, having the police at the poll, having the dog. Like I have an uncle that is just like, he cannot do canines. Like, don't bring the police dogs looking, like, don't bring a canine looking dog. Because he's like, them dogs are like, those dogs are the devil. Right. Because those were the dogs that were sicked on them. Or they would have primaries that were white only. Mm-hmm. So the black people you can vote in the general election, but you can't vote in the primaries.
What?
Yes.
That was law?
That was what states, because remember, the reason why the Constitution gives no one the right to vote. Right. It doesn't. There's nowhere in there. All it does is it has amendments and things in there that prevents the discrimination of voting, because no states could agree on how voting should happen.
And it was going to be different across the board.
It was going to be different across the board. So when you talk about whites only primary, Alabama could do that, because there's nothing saying that you can't have a white only primary.
Right. There's no law against it.
There's no law.
Because you're a state with your own independent rights, you can do what you want.
You can do what you want, because we're letting these non-white people vote in the general election.
Wow. Oh, right. So it's justified.
Yeah, I'm still giving you the right to vote in the general election. You still have
the right to vote.
Yeah.
But then it also keeps people of color ever from getting in positions of power.
Because they never get to decide
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Because no one ever gets to the general election because they can't vote in a primary.
No. And then there's the intellectual test, where there was a woman who said she would walk up to the poll. It's the same lady that showed her little picture of her poll tax. And she's like, read the third line of the second paragraph of the Constitution. And if you didn't know it, goodbye, you can't vote.
Who knows that? You know what I mean? Like, so they would show up to go vote, and they would have to recite
to register to vote.
To even register, you had to know that?
To register.
Well, none of us would be registered to vote today.
I'd be like, bleep, like one of those old Looney Tunes. One of those little Looney Tunes. I'd be like,
I mean, that's kind of how I feel. I'm like drawing a blank, and I consider myself like pretty good with American history. You know, like, oh my God.
Listen, I haven't even learned all the amendments. That's not
I know that's embarrassing.
So, I mean, it is, but it's
not you. I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah, I feel embarrassed by that.
How many are there? I don't even know.
Oh, Christina.
We gotta cut this out.
No, but the thing about, but we don't have to, because we're average people just trying to, and as the thing about learning this stuff is we're learning as we go. And what I know, again, as an educator, an adult educator, is that adults are very life-centered learners.
What is that?
Right? Meaning I learn something when it is necessary for my life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? So that, I mean, there's a whole theory behind adult education. It applies to all of this. Yeah. So when do I need to know? Again, think about the Know Your Rights campaign. There would be no Know Your Rights campaign.
Right. Unless it affects you, why would you?
Absolutely.
Until your rights are challenged or taken away, you don't know them.
Absolutely. So there's nothing, I do feel a little shame in saying, like, I don't even know how many
I just said the 15th Amendment was in 1965, so there you go.
Do you know what I'm saying? But that's, come on now, like, but it was ratified in the, what it says, 18. Yeah, this is a whole 1800s thing. But
I had no idea.
Yeah, but remember, we're still talking about just men.
Right.
At this point. We're still...
Yeah, so we haven't even moved past women.
Because we're talking about minorities, right? And at the end of the day, we know, and we've been talking about, that a lot of this talking progressively about moving forward threatens a specific demographic of people.
Yeah, and it's still hard to wrap your head around that in 2018. That goes back to what I'm saying. Like, people think it's not like that now, and it is, but it's also hard to find that. It's hard to find evidence of that. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Because I think, especially we're so busy, we live our lives, we also just don't see forces that still are at work or in play.
Yeah. And I think part of the way we challenge that is through history, too.
Yeah.
Is... You can ask somebody and say, well, they could say that, it's nothing wrong, nothing wrong with the United States. Everybody's good. We've had a black president. Women are running for office. But then you go like, okay, so then what, who President Eisenhower is, right? So then why did he have to sign the Civil Rights Act?
Right. That's what I was trying to get at. That's 1965. That's
what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking
and the beauty of the Civil Rights Act is the Civil Rights Act established a commission for voting.
Gotcha. Thank you. I was like, I knew 1965 was very important. That's what it was.
Yes.
So was it trying to protect? So was that's protecting voters?
So it was the commission to enforce voters' rights.
Gotcha. Thank you. Okay. Because I was like, that's what
Something
I was
was connected.
I was like, I knew 1965 was important. I knew the civil rights.
Voters' rights. I mean, the Civil Rights Act was in 1957.
1957.
But
What's 1965?
65 is the Voters' Rights Act.
Thank you.
So 1957, you had President
trying to
Eisenhower.
remember that year.
That's your year, girl. We're get there. We're walking y'all through. We're going
on a timeline. Yeah. We've gone to 1800.
So by this time, women, the 19th Amendment has been established that women can vote, right? Yeah. So we went through our subject, our suffrage. The voting age is still 21.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I feel like a lot of people don't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The voting age wasn't even lowered. It was lowered under Nixon.
Yeah.
In 1971.
Boy, you're impressing me.
But I did some homework.
Yeah.
Because we talk, you and I know a lot of stuff, right. But then sometimes we have to connect it back to the real stuff.
Right. To the grounded history. Yeah.
To the grounded history.
Well, because you also, if you don't examine history, you're not going to realize where you are today. You know what I mean? Like where we are right now is because of...
as a reflection of all of that.
Absolutely.
So if we're in 1957.
Yeah.
And you can vote, I can vote. I mean, because we're of age.
Right.
And we're ladies and stuff. There's still some roadblocks there. Not for you, maybe, but for me. Because even though the Civil Rights Act had the commission that was like, okay, we're going to enforce voters' rights, uphold the 15th Amendment. Who is in charge of enforcing that?
Who?
Think about that. No, who enforces laws? Who enforces...
the people, white men.
The police, right?
Yeah.
The judicial system, right?
All the systems that are in place.
All white juries.
Right.
If I want to go to court and say that my voting rights were violated, I'm going to have to go to face not of my peers. Right. It will be white men.
Right.
That will get to decide. Police who were already antagonizing black people at the polls prior to
are the ones deciding.
Are the ones enforcing this stuff.
That's amazing. So if you look at activism and the role it played, they changed attitudes. That's what activists do, I think, is shift and change ideas.
So good point, right?
Yeah.
Because guess what happened?
What?
I learned about this thing called the Bloody Sunday.
I don't know what that is.
Bloody Sunday was in it's kind of what pushed what you're talking about, activism, what pushed Eisenhower to sign the Civil Rights Act is a bunch of police attacked a group of peaceful protesters with dogs and all that good stuff because they wanted voting rights.
That's it.
But that goes back to activism.
Yeah, and so I think we think of activism and we look and we think, people protesting in streets and stuff like that. But a lot of it is, I see activism as education, empowerment, and then changing ideas and minds and hearts and appealing emotionally to get people to understand a cause.
Because had it not been for activism, we wouldn't be at this point today.
No.
We wouldn't have the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Thank you.
Your year. Yeah, which... helped enforce again, so you're at a point where we've got 1, 2, 3 different things that are trying to get minority people to be able to vote.
Right.
15th Amendment, Civil Rights Acts with their commission, and the Voters' Rights Act of 1965.
And none of that changes without changing attitudes.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Like that is truly hearts and minds stuff. That's what this podcast is. And this is the whole episode today is also like talking about activism, talking about how we came to this place and the importance of our listeners and our audience, not underestimating the value of having conversations about race and racism and bias with literally their neighbor. You know what I mean? Like what I'm trying to say is like, people gain these rights and we gained this by grassroots. It wasn't like they gained notoriety and they gained power in numbers, but it was because they started with conversations with people and said, hey, did you know this? Hey, and they helped walk people to understanding the importance of voting.
Look at the March on Selma, which is like what they were talking about.
And it's so funny. Yeah, it's funny to me. These people are everyday people like us.
Everyday people. Every freaking day people.
Yeah, I think people do that to me like, wow, you're so great. You guys are so great. And I'm like, No, not really. I'm an average person just stepping up because now that I'm a witness to history and a witness to other people's experiences that aren't my own, now that I know, I can't not know, and I can't sleep at night not knowing that I didn't try to fight for a more equitable society for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Because the fight is still there.
Yeah, it is.
The fight, we were just looking up that in 2013, the section, what was it? Section 5 of...
4?
Section 4 of the Voter Rights Act was struck down, which helped stop the discrimination between people.
It's for protection.
So what you're saying is that activism doesn't start because it's all about what's going on in your backyard.
Yes.
Because your state could do
That's what I'm trying
something
to say.
Yeah. Your state can do something very discriminatory towards people that don't look like you.
Right.
And you don't want those things to happen, but you don't know they're happening.
Yes. That's the state that we're in today.
Exactly.
That's what I'm, like, for me, I think as the white person and I can't speak for all white people and would never try to, but I know that I speak for myself, and then people that I talk to on a daily basis aren't aware of how many injustices there still are or things that are still happening.
Right.
And then when they do become aware, it's like almost so overwhelming. Yeah. And they don't want to do anything, so they kind of just shut down and don't
just live that life.
It. Exactly.
Live that life you're living.
But now, now it's like the call to action for me is like, if you listen to this podcast, you're on a spectrum of woke. You're on a spectrum of knowing,
the woke spectrum.
Yes. So it's like I put my hands out like this. I'm like, so maybe I'm a little bit farther down the spectrum. And if you're listening to what is this, the 17th episode or whatever?
Whatever it is.
You can't say you didn't know now.
Yeah. You can't say.
Yeah.
And register to vote.
Register to vote. And I would say I have like a social thing that I try to do, not an experiment, but it's like, so we're social creatures. Yeah. We do things because we see our peers doing them. So my challenge, and this is what I do, is I text people, did you vote? Are you registered to vote? And it's not a shaming thing. I'm not like, did you vote? Like trying to make you feel bad. But if you know that I'm going to hold you accountable to voting and I'm going to talk about it and you didn't, then you're going to feel bad. So you're more likely to get your butt to the voting.
Amen. And if you are interested and if you want to do the work towards making voting equitable, get closer to what your state's require for voting. What is your state? Is your state doing things that prevents non-white people from
voting? Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know what it comes down to, and we've said this, it all comes around. We love civics. We love government. We love our city.
We love it.
We do. We're nerds. That's why I love you, because I've never met anyone. I would always be like, I love city government. And they're like, you can't see my face. But yeah, exactly. Like, I worked for public utilities in the city of Cleveland Department of Public Utilities Water. And people were like, you liked that? I was like, I loved it. Stormwater bills, bring them on.
Did you clean your drain today?
Yeah, seriously, that was part of my job. Telling people what to not put down their drains. But people we're laughing, but it's serious because we all create what we see around us, right? Mm-hmm. So the reality is we all create it, and we need to. So basically a lot of our podcast is always advocating for people to be better citizens.
Better citizens.
And I can do better too. I don't even want to say I'm a model citizen. I'm not perfect, but I'm engaged.
Yep. And if you're here listening because again, it's the race piece that gets you going, there is a piece to that for everything. So
Absolutely.
You were talking about environmental stuff. There's environmental racism.
I learned that word too. We could do a whole episode on that.
So, but there are pieces to where we can be better citizens for those who don't know, or for those who are being affected or being marginalized because of civics.
Right. And it takes critical thinking skills. We've talked about it. It takes looking at your city government and looking at things around you and digging a little deeper. And when I say digging deeper, I'm not even saying Googling things. I'm just saying asking questions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? wait, why is that like this? Wait, what is, that's how change starts to happen, because people start to question and hold their local government accountable.
I would love to, like, pie in the sky, big dream. I would love it to be a part of schools' curriculums to automatically register. Like, part of the curriculum is that you register to vote. Or what if I don't, because in learning all this stuff about states, I'm like, what if Virginia was a state that automatically registered students enrolled? And if you were 18, when you turn 18, you were automatically registered.
Yeah. At least just so you're done. Because a lot of people, my grandma took me to register to vote, you know, but it's like, but there's that social structure to it.
Yeah.
Unless someone does that for you, who knows? I grew up with very civically engaged people, so I think that's a lot of why I'm today. But if you don't grow up like that, or that's not around you, I get it.
And find your why, because in doing like this stuff, find your why, because for many of years, the why for a lot of folks was to keep ownership of what they had, to protect what they thought was right, meaning protect the fact that they don't want non-white people in their neighborhoods. They were exercising their, and I'm putting right in quotes, but they were exercising their right to protect their neighborhoods.
Right.
They had a why. And so they were at the polls. They were engaged what was going on, because they felt they were protecting their shit.
Which I'm sure we still see a lot of.
Well, you still see, look, girl, like, but I'm just saying, find your why.
Yeah.
They were going hard for what they believed in, and that got them to the polls, that got them civically engaged. So what is your why? And what is going to be like, fuel you to be like, even though I don't feel like it, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go and take this.
I'm glad you said that too, because I definitely deal with that. Like, I don't feel like voting.
I don't feel like it too.
I get the same way, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not a perfect citizen either. It don't get me, like, if you look at my voting record, I haven't voted in every consecutive thing. I've missed, you know, it happens because of life, but that doesn't mean that we need to stop.
What's your why? Yeah, what is your why? Because there are people that are now voting. Look, the whole Planned Parenting piece, that's their thing. There are people who are voting because education, schools are not. What's your thing that's going to say, yo, if I don't freaking find someone that aligns with my issue.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Well, and the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. I've been obsessed with Ellie Weisel lately, sorry. But, I mean, but it's true. So if we're indifferent, I mean, because that's how World War II happened. I'm not going down the history rabbit hole, but I'm just saying, like, evil rises or bad things happen when we're indifferent. Yeah.
I can see that.
So now that's a call to white people for me. When I'm always, I'm speaking to white people, is that, oh, Bruce, our baby, our podcast dog is awake. You need to.
I'm just saying, it's like, Christina's trying to talk.
I am.
Bruce is sitting between us, and he's like, hey, I hear you talking, but pet my neck, Christina.
Yeah, I mean, he literally just put his entire head up on my.
So she's trying to get her words. And
yeah, I'm trying to articulate my words, and I'm like,
he's training you right now. He's like, listen, you see my neck, you press, you rub, you press, you rub. Yeah. Say your words now. Say your words.
Right. I mean, literally, like, he woke up and he was like, oh, she's still here. She needs to give me pets. This is our podcast.
So go ahead. You're saying indifference.
Yeah, so indifference is actually, there's, what is it? The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference.
Right.
And so, and that to me means indifference to anything. I know we can't all care about everything.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, my husband's very environmental. That's great. And I love that, because I can't pay attention to all of that. That's just that doesn't break my heart. I mean, I care, but like, there's just, it's hard for me. So it's like, so I'm grateful that he stays on top of that. You know what I mean? I'm more social justice, racial justice, people, issues like that. But paying attention and not caring, because I feel like I have a lot of conversations with a lot of millennials that just don't, that they're just wrapped up in their own lives. And I'm speaking to white people when I say that. It's more of just because we do live in such bubbles and such privilege. We don't have to look at the world around us and say, is it equitable for everyone?
Because you have what you need.
Yeah.
I like that. Find what breaks your heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Or set your soul on fire, whatever way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
But I can share what mine is. Mine is, and come out of the campaign. It's come out of being really close friends with someone that's a person of color that lives a very different reality than me. That when I have children, we'll have very different realities. If I have a son, it's a different. Yeah. And that breaks my heart. It angers me. It like gets to the core of who I am. So I want to do this work. So if you have to engage and talk to people and live diverse experiences to find it too.
Oh, you're tearing up.
I am tearing up. Because every time we bring up Duran, it gets me. Because it's like if I had a son, it would just be very different.
It's hard.
And talking to my white girlfriends that have sons, their reality. Like when I became close, we're close. So it's like you would share things that I'm like, my white friends never have to talk about this.
Yeah. So I'll say this. Did I tell you this? I've been doing a lot of writing.
No, that's great.
So I've been writing because I'm trying to finish this daggone parental leadership book.
That's awesome.
And I don't know that that's what I'm writing about because I'm finding that a lot of what I'm typing out because I just purged is about the different Americas that my daughter and my son live in.
Yeah.
And how my daughter is in an America right now where she, as a young lady, it's celebrated. That Black Girl Magic.
Black Girl Magic, yeah.
All of that. Like, it's a great time to be a little Black girl.
Right.
But for my son, what he sees is it is more like a survival America for my...
Don't do this.
Don't do that.
I feel like it would be a lot of don'ts.
It is a lot of don'ts. And we're seeing now that it doesn't matter whether you have on a hoodie or whatever. Like, it sucks. And I was just doing a catalog. I was going back through what I was writing, and I was just like, it is very difficult to raise a Black son in this time, and I'm sure it's always been difficult to raise Black men, but it is even more difficult when I know I am making a concerted effort to make sure that he is intelligent, that he can think critically, something we talked about, that he is palatable without compromising.
What's palatable?
Meaning that people can take him.
Gotcha. Oh, acceptable, kind of.
Yes.
To society. Okay.
Because, like we, in our interview with Jay,
like a palate. Like, that's too much more than palate. Yeah. Or that's not my palate. Got it. That people are able to take him. Because I don't know what he's going to look like. Yeah. When I look at the men on my father's side and the men on on both of our sides of family, his dad and I don't know what he's going to turn out to look like. So it's like, I'm trying to I don't know. It's a lot to think about. It's just so much. That's what I'm saying. And that's why I tear up because I don't have kids yet, but I have friends that have sons and these are not the issues that we talk about.
Yeah.
So you have normal issues of raising a boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's a lot of overlap when I talk with my girlfriends, just what it's like
just
to raise
muchiness of boys.
Of boys. Yeah.
Muchiness.
Yes. And, and then the racial component to it. I listen and that's all I can do. Well, I can do more, which I'm trying, of doing this podcast and our events and all of those things because it's important.
Yeah. I don't want to rob him of his childhood, but I have to.
Right.
And that goes to, it just didn't me saying, okay, I'm going to write this book, but that also layers into being cognizant of who you decide to follow in your efforts to being where you want to be on the woke spectrum.
Yes.
As you said.
Yes.
That could be it could be a great thing for you and the people in your life, or it can be very damaging to you in your life, because we do have a lot of activists out there that are not, they don't want people to be free thinkers. They just want people to shut up and listen.
Yeah. I mean, not even activists. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I just want to say not even free thinkers, but critical thinkers. It's just shut up, sit down, and listen.
Yeah, quite literally.
But do something. I'm so confused.
But it's very confusing, though.
Yes, I'm so
And then if you
confused
say you're confused, you're not doing the work.
Yeah.
And I follow accounts that say, like I've said this before, where they tell white women to not ask questions of Black women about their experience or, and it's so confusing to me because I'm like, all the Black women in my life, that's never been my experience, not once. Mm-hmm. Literally not once. And that's like the antithesis of what we do. Mm-hmm. And so I'm thinking, I'm seeing all these other white women who are like, well, I can't say anything, right? You know what I mean? Like, I can't say anything. And so when we look at our platform and what we're trying to do, I want to be challenged because
Absolutely.
I'm an imperfect human being. Look, I try to bring my best self to this podcast. I try to do the research and lead people and give resources. But at the end of the day, I'm an imperfect person. And you are too.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I don't think you would want to be an activist like that either that tells white people to sit down and shut up.
No.
Like, can you speak to that?
No, I'm like, give me shit because I don't know all the amendments, okay?
Oh my God. I'm so humbled. I'm humbled daily in this work. Let's just say that.
But I would never want to be in a position where so I always try to come from when we're talking about professional things, it's like, what are you in the business of? And when we're talking about activism and community development and civics, I don't want to build robots that are waiting on me to program them.
Yes. And that was a message of your campaign, and I loved it. And quite frankly, I steal it for this podcast. Like, we don't want people because I remember we had an event and someone came up to me and was like, this is great, but this doesn't end racism. How do we do that? And I remember just being really angry. Like, what do you mean? How do we end? I don't know.
We don't end it.
I'm not telling.
We affect it.
We affect it, and it's a daily thing. And I'm trying to do it right now. But guess what? Just because I stepped forward to be a leader, I'm doing air quotes, in this movement doesn't mean that I have the answers. And I'm telling you, people that are on a platform or that have an Instagram account and I think also what happens too is we see people with large followings and we idolize them. We make them these people that they're not. And I'm not saying that people aren't wise and great leaders, but here's the thing, your leaders are flawed.
All of us.
We are all flawed. Good.
It goes back to, so we are both, I don't know where you are in the book, but reading Lies Your Teacher Told You. And he talks about Hero.
Yes.
Purification.
I have read that.
Yeah. Yes. So what is his name? By James?
Lowen. I think it's L-O. I could be pronouncing it wrong. It's L-O-E-W-E-N.
But it's called Lies.
Lies History Taught Us. Lies that our history teacher taught us.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But he talks about heroism and how damaging it is.
Yes.
You want to talk about it? Because you explain that really well, like how it damages us as people.
It damages us because we start to see these people and they don't give us a robust picture of who they truly were and what. So they give Helen Keller as an example. You know, she, you see her as a child and you see her going through she learns how to, she learns how to read, and
her teacher and all that good stuff.
Right. So that's what we know. But then the part we don't know is that she was a socialist. She actually was she's in very kind of dangerous ideologies, but people don't want to teach that because we want to see this clean, pristine vision.
Yeah, she was very active.
Yes,
she was very active in her beliefs, and
but because someone is a leader and can speak and is engaging doesn't mean that they have all the right ideas.
Yeah.
And I get tired of living in a place where I've seen this in this work when I've done 20 episodes on a podcast and then all of a sudden people are asking me how to end racism. Yeah. I don't know. Mm-hmm. You don't know.
No.
We don't know together. We're trying to do something, and I'm more of, I forget there's a term of leadership that it's called, but it's like collaborative leadership. Like I'm not up here, I'm not up here and then telling people what to do. Mm-hmm. I'm saying, I'm learning, I'm growing, please come with me.
Yeah.
Engage in my content.
Yeah, we're about collective action.
Yes.
And so it's we are taking acts and we want you to take acts with us and what that looks like in your realm of the world.
Yeah.
For us, at this moment, it's specifically about race. What steps can we all take? What can you do in your backyard
to create more equity?
Yes. And that is not the same for Chicago as it is for Akron, as it is for Little Rock, as it is for LA.
And that's why our name really resonated with me when we were picking them, is because that's what it comes down to. It comes down to your neighborhood, but then your neighbor's neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like your community together, because it does look different. But it starts with asking questions. I've said that before. I feel like the older I get, the more questions I have. Mm-hmm. Like the more I realize I don't know. Someone told me that, like, the older you get, the more you know you don't know. Mm-hmm. And that is so true for me because I'm humbled daily.
Mm-hmm. And then we are in a time where we cannot afford to allow what's just put in front of us to really dictate our morals.
Yes, and don't allow a huge following on Instagram and a book and a platform, because I'm telling you, that stuff's easy to achieve, right? So you can have hollow words, but who are the people that you are following? Do they have character? Are they people of character? What do they do? You know what I mean? What are they doing?
But use these things to gain knowledge.
Right.
To grow yourself.
Right.
Not to, what do you call it? Not to, I don't know if the word's
idolize, yeah.
But it's like,
just put them on a pedestal above your own intelligence. Because I know I do that all the time. I'm like, well, I'm not that smart, or I'm not this. But I am.
Yeah, you're smart.
I have the ability to think and analyze and critique society and people because people are flawed. We all are by nature of being human. So people are going to have, so especially in this race portion, I really have had to work through, and still am working through, unfollowing and standing in my own truth of knowing that I don't agree with some of the ways some activists are choosing to do things, and that's okay.
And that is okay, because we want people talking about it. And even knowing that something that early on, I know you took the steps to do it, and I took the steps to do it, but to start paying attention to what the other side is saying.
Oh, absolutely. I can't tell you how many Trump followers I follow on Twitter a lot.
Just because, listen,
difficult for me,
you've got to, and I don't want to say enemy, but you've got to know what's going on the other side of the line. But we fundamentally
disagree.
Yes, we fundamentally disagree, and I want to know why.
Me too.
Because if I'm going to be in the efforts of bringing my corner of the world more towards the middle, of things that work for us,
at least coexisting without true hatred.
I gotta know what's going on, and I've learned some stuff that I'm like, y'all, it's frustrating. It's like, why do you think this? Right. But I know their why.
Yes.
And then I can articulate
their why.
Yep. And it allows me to better articulate my why.
Yes. And why you do what you do. And that's something too, like I'm learning from that book, this book of the lies that your history taught us, is he has a whole checklist of questions actually. So when you're reading something, and this can apply to social media very much so. What is that? Okay, first of all, what is that person's point of view? Okay, so we look at their gender, look at their race, because those are all applicable things, right? So what is their worldview? How were they brought up? Because asking all those questions helps you understand who you're following and where they're coming from and what they're teaching you. Does that make sense?
Yes, and that requires work.
And it does require work. I know it does. And I'm not saying writing a dissertation on it. I'm just saying when you engage with the content, when you engage with what they're teaching you, think that through. Hey, guess what? Apply that test to Jackie and I. Seriously, where are we from? How do we come to what we believe? What are we reading? I mean, because we are, if you're engaging in our podcast and you're listening to us, know our background. Ask us those questions.
Yeah,
challenge those, because that's where you learn and you grow, and you also know you can learn better when you know someone's point of view. Mm-hmm. Or you can suss out agendas that way as well.
Yeah, girl. Yeah, girl, let me high five you, girl. So what, now what?
So my so what would be pretty much, honestly, I think I just said it, and I came to the realization is that critically think about everything. Ask questions. And the people that you engage on social media and the things that you follow and read and the news, everything, understand even try and gain background on where people are coming from and their points of view and their agendas, because it's important. It's important to not just blindly follow people.
Okay. My so what is so what we know that activism includes act.
Yeah. Amen.
And it has influenced the world around us today. But yes, and my now what is that now we know that we can do activism a little bit better and a little bit differently. And I challenge people to do that to whatever that looks like. And activism doesn't necessarily mean that you're outside with a sign or your activism. And let me just say this personally, part of my activism is educating my children.
I love that.
That's hard. That's even hard to make space and time to do. But there are plenty of spaces out there. I was just looking at something for PBS that had short videos you can show your kids about history and gives you everything that you need to be a teacher to your child or whatever. But that's my form of activism, is that I'm raising citizens, and I'm trying to help people around me raise amazing citizens. So it doesn't pick as Christina says, what breaks your heart, and do something, whatever that looks like after that. Because we wouldn't be voting. She or I would not be voting.
Nope. Unless someone had been pissed off. And I could say break your heart or pisses you off. Either one.
What grinds your gears?
People, things break my heart. Like, I identify more with the emotional side. Like, breaks my heart and makes me cry, or or something that you see that's inequitable that makes you angry. And if you don't know what that is, message me or Jackie. We'll help you.
Yeah.
We'll get you angry. We'll fire you up for something.
Fired up, ready to go. Fired up, ready to go.
Hey, and you know what? I will say this. I just want to add, I love living like that. Like, it is amazing to wake up. Not every day is like this. Don't,
Listen, we had 2 days this week.
Oh my God, both of us. Like, I showed up and I was like, hi.
I was like, hello, Christina. How are you today?
I'm not good today.
And then I showed up and I was like, I had to talk myself to get out of the bed.
Yes.
Mental health game was
same for both of us. Yeah, so we always try to keep that part real. But but your life my life is so much better and has so much more meaning, because I know that there's something that I'm fighting for every day and something that I believe in than just going to work and having friendships and partying and and just there. It gives me a purpose, and I believe this. I believe that your purpose comes from something that breaks your heart. I think everyone, that's just a belief that I have, that you can find your purpose on the earth when you find like a hole or something that needs fixed, or dedicating your life to it.
Yes, ma'am.
So I live with passion.
Amen.
When you're singing kills me.
I could have said amen. Get it, Christina. Amen. You know that song?
Yeah, I do. I haven't heard that forever.
See?
I love that.
That's being in that church, girl.
It is the church.
Go to church now. When I want to rile up my kids, I put on James Brown.
Oh, I love that. What do they do?
When this is my activism. Let me tell you what I do. Sometimes I want to snatch them up and put them on walls, but when I'm like really like, I put on James Brown, because he's like, hit me. I was like, is that what you want? Come on, look.
I love that.
Music tells a story. So James Brown is I'm mad. Stay mad.
I want to feel.
I got a bone to pick.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Jackie, I'm telling you, we're going to do an after show where we sing. Because you sing all the time.
I have to. It keeps me sane. Now sing your way to the polls, y'all.
There you go.
Okay?
Yes.
And what else? What else?
I think that's it. I mean, we did our now what, so what, now what.
Yep. Get to the polls.
Get to the polls. Yeah.
Do it.
Absolutely.
Yes. And you know what you've been listening to?
Your Neighbor's Hood.
Your Neighbor's Hood.
Stay curious.
And make it a great day. You got nothing to say, Bruce?
He's been a very active part of this today.